Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Red Sea Podcast Premier League preview. Tonight, we're going to be looking at all the opening day fixtures, all the big six teams, and all the transfers that might happen. Having a little bit of the prediction in terms of where the table's going to look come May. Got a really special guest on as well tonight, so I can't wait to get going. Let's crack on.
Tell the world we are Liverpool, champions of England.
We've conquered all of Europe. We're never gonna stop. From Palestine to Turkey, we've won the fucking lot. But Paisley and the Shankly, the fields of Anfield gold. We are all supporters, and we come from Liverpool.
Good evening. So, guys, we have got obviously James, my co-host, as always, and a very, very special guest, Lee Judges. So I'll start with you, mate. How are you, Lee?
Yeah, all right. I'm not so sure about that intro, though. You know, very nice.
Sure get you pumped.
Gets you going, I suppose, if you're a Liverpool fan. Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you very much. No problems.
Good. Now, it's a pleasure to have you. And James, how are you, my friend?
Mate, I'm always good. And the intro's sensational, mate.
Flames.
Absolutely sensational.
It is, mate. No, it's a good one, isn't it? Our good friends at LSE Day Trippers put that together for us. So it's a real pleasure to get that going on our streams now. But yeah, a little bit different tonight. Obviously, we're normally all about Liverpool FC, but tonight we're going to be looking at the Premier League. It's back. We've missed it. It's not just back, but it's back in the way that we love it. It's fans back in the stadium. It should feel a bit more normal now. So I can't wait for the Premier League to kick off again. And Liverpool have actually got a fully fit squad. We haven't actually got 3 centre-backs on the injury table, so we might actually be able to challenge. But Lee, the first match of the season, tomorrow night, Arsenal versus Brentford, the newly promoted team hosting the Gunners. Obviously, we've got to start with you. Where do you think that game's going to go? What are your thoughts on Arsenal's transfer business, and how's the general feel from inside AFTV about Arsenal's season coming up?
Do you know what? I'm going to be honest. I haven't got a clue how it's going to go tomorrow. Like, it can go either way, and that is honest. You know, we can win this game easily. We could lose it. We could draw it. You know, what will be will be. That's how I look at it from that point of view. I'm going to be honest, lads. I'm not looking forward to the season. First time, you know, when you get that. Oh, can't wait to the season to start. Can't wait to go to games and things like that. Considering I ain't been to a game for about 18 months, you know, the last time I went, you know, before the pandemic, like, you know, and, you know, we've got Brentford away tomorrow. First time I've ever played there. And I just can't be bothered to go, you know what I mean? And that's how it's got me at the moment, like, you know, so I'm obviously going to go to the home games, obviously, like, you know, got my season ticket and all that, but I am going to pick and choose me away games. And I'm you know, looking at this one, yeah, definitely going to go to this one. But the transfer market is just, you know, I don't know what it's just battered me down. I'll be honest. You know what I mean? I really thought that Arsenal would, you know, after the season that they've had, would have really come in and made a statement in the transfer. And I honestly thought that they would, and that's why I was. But they haven't done it, and I just feel, well, I know what's coming. You know what I mean? It's like walking down a track knowing the train's going to come and run me over in a minute. I know it's happening. You know, so
You can't go off the track.
Just can't, you know. But there I am walking on the track, and I just, you know, I know it's your football club and you support it and do everything like that. And you know, come tomorrow night, I'll be, you know, more into it. You know, watching it on telly or whatever. But and going to the games. But this minute, I just feel let down by the club. I just feel like, you know. I see us what I see last season, and in fact, going into this game tomorrow, we are weaker than what we was last season, and I'll say that by we haven't got a backup goalkeeper like we had Matt Ryan towards the last season. It was decent. We haven't got Odegaard in the midfield. We haven't got Ceballos. He's gone. You know what I mean? We haven't got Partey. He's injured, but that's immaterial. So. From that point of view, yes, we've improved in the central defensive area with Ben White, which is a good signing. But ultimately, there's other areas that needed filling before that. And when I look at it, out of everything last season, our defence was probably the plus, and there weren't that many pluses. And we've gone and spent 50 50 million on that. I think another 25. I think it was about another 10 million on the left back as well, backup. So about £12 million on a defence that needed improving, but not to the extent of a midfield. And lo and behold, look at the midfield where we had no creativity, no decent midfield players realistically in there that would, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to any of the midfield players, that would get into the top 4 midfield, in the league.
Yeah.
And we've not improved on it whatsoever. And, so from that point of view, it's very, very disappointing. And I think the transfer window has knocked the stuffing of excitement out of me, So there you go. So
you say that. Sorry, you say that, Lee, but there was a link today between Yves Bissouma and Arsenal again. Graham Potter's quoted in the media as saying that he cannot control what Yves Bissouma does. So there seems to be a little bit of glimmering hope there that you might get a midfielder in that's actually going to be able to partner with Partey. Once he's fully fit. I look at Thomas Partey and I think about some of his injury issues, and SS will probably join me on this. He reminds me of Naby Keita at Liverpool, in a sense that he's come in and he's not really been able to get the momentum. Difference is Naby's been here for 3 years now. Thomas Partey's only been here for a season, so hopefully, fingers crossed, he can get over that little injury crisis he's going through, and actually start to show his quality.
Yeah, I agree, but he was in pre-season he was superb. I know it's only pre-season, but he was playing really well, and now he's out for 3 weeks. So it's one step forward, 2 spaces back with him, And the fact of the matter is, we need Partey, but we need someone like a Bissouma, and also somebody else. We need a creative midfield player as well.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, so I was going to say, Lee, do you think there will be activity at the Emirates before the end of the window? Because you've also been linked with an attacker as well, haven't you, Martinez? Lightly.
Listen, Arsenal will make signings. There's no 2 ways about it. They've got to.
Like you said, they're weaker than they were before, aren't they?
You don't spend £50 million on a central defender and then not cover the other areas. It's just like stupidity if they didn't. So I think that Arsenal will make the signings, but maybe because I'm old school or whatever, you have to look at the transfer window when it finishes, and I get that. But the season starts tomorrow, and it's like me having a race with Usain Bolt and saying, like, well, I'll race you 100 metres, but you can have a 15-yard start. I ain't going to beat him anyway. You know what I mean? Like giving him a 15 yards, and you can't afford to give Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea points, and that's what we're going to do. We ain't going. There's an acceptance with Arsenal fans at the moment that we might beat Brentford, but we're going to lose to Manchester City and Chelsea. You can't go into a season like that. And I've never done that before. I have done over the last few years because of that sort of way. But I never, going back in the time, I always thought that, particularly when we was at Highbury or the Emirates, I thought that we'd win our games at home. Mm. But now we're saying, oh no, well, we ain't going to win there. Listen, I get the point about Manchester City, that maybe, but I look at Manchester City. I looked at them the other day. They're bordering on arrogance. If you be honest, you know what I mean? All right, they won the league last season, you know what I mean? But ultimately, if they don't get a forward, they're going to, it'd be a good time to play them. If you defend properly against them, like Leicester did, you've always got a chance, you know what I mean? So it wouldn't be a bad time to take them on if you had the 3 or 4 players that Arsenal needed into that side. Go up there and give them a bloody good game and give them a fright. Yeah, but we ain't capable of doing that. And it's disappointing from not only that, guys, is that we're still the highest ticket prices, season ticket holders and things like that. Apparently we're showboating our third kit this week, So there's 3 kits we've brought out. We've only got 2 competition. We haven't got a European competition, but we're still bringing out 3 kits. And also on that point of view, times are tough for a lot of people, but they're still expecting us fans to go and spend the money, like £100. I don't know what your shirts are, but they're
Exactly
probably
the same.
100 quid.
Yeah.
100 quid.
£100. You know what I mean? I ain't. So that's £300 without the shorts and socks. Not like, you know, you're going to be a full kit, whatever. But
I know one.
You know, it's a lot of money, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. And
It's a lot of money.
as well, if you've got like James, he's got 3 boys that he has to fully kit out as well. So
yeah, exactly.
It's interesting. One question I was going to ask you, Lee, just before we kind of move on from Arsenal. Got a really good question here from Samuel, and I wanted to link this to something I wanted to ask you. So obviously something you mentioned there, no European football for Arsenal, potentially a blessing in disguise, only having the Prem really to focus on. Does that potentially increase expectations? Because you mentioned you've got Chelsea and City in the first 3 games, and without being too disrespectful, they've had a lot of players involved in summer competitions. They're not quite back fit yet. Some of them aren't going to be ready. Yeah. Arsenal less so. They should really, most of the 11 have been involved in most pre-season. And, you know, we look at Liverpool when they had no European football doing well. Leicester the same. You know, Arsenal, I think, finished 8th last season. You know, is there any chance that could help you improve that position?
Listen, people that are deluded Arsenal fans are looking back at what Chelsea done when they come 10th and then went on and won it.
Yeah.
You know, listen, if Arsenal were to, and I'll be really honest here, if Arsenal got 2 midfielders, say if they bought Basuma and Aouar or Basuma and Maddison, right? Arsenal, I'm not saying would go on and win the league, but they have got potential to challenge for it because they've got no European football. So while you lot are all travelling around Europe and playing difficult games, we're resting up, training, working on focusing and focusing on one game in front. You know what I mean? Like, so say for instance, you've got Liverpool on the Sunday. Liverpool are playing in like Real Madrid in the week. Like, you're flying off to there, you're preparing for the game against Real Madrid. When you're coming back, you've got 1 day to recover, and then half a day, 1 day to focus on the Arsenal game. You know, Arsenal would have Monday, Tuesday to recover from the game, the previous game. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Learn, you know, it is a massive advantage, but you've got to still have the players. It's no, you know, it's like if we had a 5-a-side team and us 3 were playing it, and we're playing against Ronaldo, Messi, and Neymar. It doesn't matter how much preparation we have and how much time we have at home. We're not going to beat them because they're better than us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you've got to get the players in to do
take
that.
Advantage of that. Yeah, 100% agree with you.
Yeah, to take advantage of that. It is exactly what Chelsea done. You know, and then it does make it a little bit better for us. You know, if we had all those players that I've just mentioned, and really we could be a dark horse in. Because of that reason, but at this moment in time, it don't matter.
Oh, absolutely. And then just to finish, because there's another good question here, Umar here. Arsenal still a little bit weak in midfield and forwards, not scoring enough. Arteta a little bit too defensive, even against the smaller teams. So obviously those 2 fixtures that you mentioned, you know, I think Arsenal, in my opinion, have almost kind of, you know, tried to trick their fans into accepting mediocrity every season. You know, it was top 4 was good enough. Then it was, you know, top 6 is not too bad. And you know, I'm looking at it and thinking that, like you mentioned, a lot of Arsenal fans look at Man City and Chelsea and go, oh, well, you know, it doesn't really matter what we do in them as long as we beat the others. But is that surely the expectation now? Or have you got to look at it and think, well, we've got to beat Brentford? Is anything against the other 2 a bonus? Or should you be going into that, especially at home, looking to win, especially against Chelsea?
I think the other two are a bonus, and it's going to be a bonus for most teams. Yeah. If I'm honest, at this moment in time, I would say that probably Chelsea are favourites to win the league. I don't know how you guys feel, because I think that they've got a top striker and City haven't yet. You know what I mean? Like, but if City come and sign Harry Kane, then it's all over. You know what I mean? Like, I really do.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be as clear cut as that. And you know, again, with massive respect to what Chelsea have done in the window, they've had a decent window. Again, massive respect to what City are doing in the window at the moment. We all know the Premier League doesn't work like that. You know, the Premier League is probably the only league in world football where the bottom team can beat the top team on any day.
Well, yeah. I get on that lot, but I'll tell you what, you can have every other team in the league, right? And I'll have them too. Right? And,
yeah, look, I get it. They've got a massive advantage with the business they've done. I understand.
They have got a massive advantage. You know,
massive advantage.
Of course,
but I just feel there's a little bit more to be said. You know, and Liverpool have proven this. You know, the season we won the Champions League, everyone said we've got to go out and strengthen. We've got to go out and strengthen. We steadfast. We didn't. We kept the same squad. The next year, we go on and win the Premier League. You know, SS and I have been critical of the lack of business this summer. Whilst we've been critical, we've been incredibly relaxed as well. So I don't want our fans to go into hysteria and delirium.
No, so you should be as well. So you should be. I think
we're relaxed.
It depends. I tell you what, Liverpool's season really depends on the injury. The players coming back from injury, they're going to be up and running straight away. But ultimately, you know, listen, as an outside looking in from Liverpool, unbelievable job what Klopp done yesterday. I think getting fourth last year was more
third in the end.
Third. Because the players that he had at the back there and everything like that, you know, and I don't care what anybody says, central defensive partnership is important. And I think that Liverpool emphasised that by losing theirs, and they weren't quite the same steady ship, but still to get fourth, incredible achievement, like, you know. But, you know, Liverpool got some good players in good areas, but ultimately, you know, listen, a couple of seasons ago, like, I've always said this about Arsenal. Arsenal were, we're a goalkeeper away from challenging for the title, or a central defender away from challenging the title. I remember watching Liverpool once and saying Liverpool are, you know, if they go and sign a goalkeeper and a centre half, they'd be as good as anybody. They went and done that, and you know, you lost Coutinho through it, but no one would turn around and say now that weren't a bad move, even though at the time it probably looked it. But
top business,
quality business, improved the side, got the areas that you needed to do, and have gone on from there. Also, what helps, and I don't care what anybody says, and it should not be taken for granted and underestimated, is you've got a very, very experienced coach who knows what he's doing. And to sail a ship through dodgy waters like he did last year is, for me, I think it puts him in a different level to say someone like Pep, who I think that if he was going through the same waters, he'd have sunk, because he you know.
Lee, just on that then, and just quickly, because I know SS wants to move on to another segment of the show, but are you in the Arteta out camp? Are you in? Because there's a bit of there's that real. I've been to the Emirates before. I got a lot of cousins that are Gooners, yeah. So I've been to a lot of Liverpool games. So I remember the game where Mane absolutely ran riot in that game. I was there. You know, I was there in a cup game where you beat us 2-1. Steven Gerrard scores. I've been to many Liverpool games at the Emirates, yeah. And I've always found the atmosphere is on a knife edge, regardless of whether it's, you know, whether it was Wenger in charge, whether it was Emery in charge, and now Arteta. The atmosphere is just on a knife edge. It can go any way at any single time. I've never known anything like it. Because it's very toxic. But there seems like there's two camps. There seems like the Arteta
You've got what it is. I think is there's a lot of fans, and I'm one of them. I feel like, you know, I'm being, every time I go to the Emirates, someone's pulling me pants down and giving me a smack. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it feels. You know what I mean?
felt like that. I felt like that when I went there. I've seen the price.
And to make it even worse, then I have to pay for the pleasure. You know what I mean? Like, it's a joke. You know what I mean? And I feel like, you know, I'm not seeing proper defending. I'm not seeing proper that. Now, am I a Mikel Arteta out and all that? I just want the best for Arsenal Football Club. I want to see the best manager. I want to see this. I want to see the best players. I'm not seeing it. Now, I don't care, and I'm going to be really honest with you. Maybe Klopp might. I don't know if he would. I don't name him a club. Real Madrid. You can go through all the teams that if a club like as big as it's finished 8th in the league, their manager would survive. I don't think any manager would survive. He's done it twice. You know what I mean? Like so. Am I Mikel Arteta out? For me, I think what I see last season wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. I was prepared to give him a chance, and I will give him a chance to the end of this window. Yeah. But ultimately, and I'll say it to everybody now, if we lose against Brentford, lose against Chelsea, then lose against Manchester City, and then we lose to West Brom, we've got that in between as well, and lose to West Brom when none of the big boys are even in the competition yet, and we're out of it, then he's got to go. He's got to go. It's as simple as that. And then the transfer window. So for me, he's got 4 games to do it. And the no excuses when it comes to that game against West Brom. Now we shouldn't be resting players. That should be our strongest side going out there against West Brom. Yeah. So I'll wait and see. But ultimately, I'll take it game by game. But you're right what you're saying. If Arsenal lose to Brentford and then they're 2-0 down against Chelsea, the crowd will turn. Yeah. And you know what? I don't blame them. I don't blame them.
Mate, I respect it. Honestly, I respect it. And I respect your views. And what you're saying there is pretty bang on. You've had a manager which has survived 2 8th-place finishes. You know, could another manager in world football, not only the Premier League, in world football, survive that at the biggest clubs in world football? And this is no disrespect to Arsenal. They're a top team, but they're kind of fallen from that top table, haven't they? In terms of what's happening. So maybe the alignment of the fans and the realistic expectation of the board at the moment is that Arteta is just kind of building with that future, you know, in mind. And I mean, SS, what's your thoughts? Because I know that you got a few bits.
Yeah, I would just like you say, we will move on from Arsenal in just a second, but I think the problem for me is, you know, Liverpool had everything in place. They had the owners, but it depends so much, like Lee said, on who's in charge, because we were not getting these kind of players in under Brendan Rodgers, and even up to an extent, Kenny Dalglish. It was difficult to attract players, not necessarily because the managers have been a good player in their career, but like Lee said, they need to have a proven track record as a modern day manager. And once Jurgen Klopp came in, look at the players that we can attract because of his name. So, you know, you see Arsenal spending 50 million on the centre back. The funds are there to improve that team. If you've got 50 million spent on one player, you can be a top 4 team. It's quite simple if you've got that kind of funds. But, you know, because you've got 50 million, it doesn't necessarily mean you can go and sign Rafael Varane. You get Ben White because Mikel Arteta, that's pretty much all he can really attract. You look at Jurgen Klopp, you know, we've gone and got Konate for 35 million, which is probably a slightly ahead of a Ben White in terms of European experience. Under 21 France captain will be drafted into the France squad, I'm sure, for the next couple of tournaments. So I think I agree with Lee. I think he, you know, obviously you want what's best for Arsenal, and it's not snap your fingers and it's not going to happen overnight, but it has to start from the top. And, you know,
he's exactly right. And one of the things is that to bear brunt for me is, well, give him a window, give him this, give him that. Well, he had the January window, for instance, which we signed Odegaard and the goalkeeper, Matt Ryan. They're not at the club no more. So that's the January way. That's the transfer window. Waste of time. So now we've got this one. We're now 3/4 of the way into it, and we're weak. So, you know, that's where we are. The other thing about Liverpool, if you was a player, listen, I remember Liverpool losing a game that they probably shouldn't have lost. I can't remember who it was against now. Jurgen Klopp
last year.
I can name a couple. Villa.
Jurgen Klopp come out and said, "Do you know what? It's my fault. I done that wrong. I done this. It was my fault. I've done this and I've done that." And I think 2 days before that, I think, or it was a week before of it, Tottenham had lost and Mourinho come out and said, "Weren't my fault." It was, and he blamed all the players. Right. And I remember watching it and probably, like, you know, Klopp didn't really make that many mistakes in it, but he backed his players. And if I was a player, I would have been watching that and going, do you know what? He's backing us here. I want to play for that guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he hasn't put us under the bus, and basically he could well in his rights to do, but he never did. And for me, so now if I'm a player, of 50, 60 million pound, and I've got a choice to go here or there, I'm going to go with. Do you know what? I'm going to go. I want to work with Jurgen Klopp because it seems like he's a decent guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing as well. And
man management.
You've got to buy into the project, haven't you? You've got to buy into the guy.
Buy into the project, buy into the man, and I think that's something that. Look, listen, Liverpool winning trophies, right? And I don't hate Jurgen Klopp for doing it because he's got a certain thing about it. You think, do you know what? I like him. You know what I mean? People will say, who's the better manager, Pep or Klopp? I'll always go Klopp 100% because, you know what I mean? He hasn't got the, like, for instance, if Liverpool went and bought Ake, he can't just go and say, oh, he's no good, I'll go and buy another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's what he does, and everybody goes, "Oh, Pep is great," and he you know what I mean. But no, why? If he was that great, coach Ake to become a very good central defender, he can't do that. Klopp had to bring in people like Phillips and make him a Premier League player for a certain amount of time. That's a difference between a coach and a manager, So that's why I always pick Klopp.
Do you think, Lee? Do you think if Jurgen Klopp would have gone into Arsenal around the same time as Liverpool, do you think you could have had the same success as us? Do you think that would have been the difference? Yeah,
100%. We should have gone into Klopp, and that's where a lot of people blame Arsene Wenger because he stayed on too long when Pep and Klopp were about. And at the end of it, for me, Klopp was, I think, would have come to Arsenal. I don't see why he wouldn't have done at that moment in time. But we chose to keep Wenger. And if you look at with Jurgen Klopp when he took over at Liverpool, they were about the same sort of position that Arsenal were in, struggling a little bit. They weren't like he's coming in as a top four manager. He come in with a project, come in with what he felt he would have done. So would he have done that with Arsenal? I think he would have done. You know what I mean? But you know why? Because it's nothing to do with money or whatever. He's a bloody good manager. Simple as that.
No, that's a really, really good
comment. NSS.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Lee's spot on. I think we finished 8th the first season under Klopp, which just is a similar position to what Arsenal are right now. And I think he would have galvanised them just the same in a very similar way. But just to finish off on Arsenal, guys, quick prediction for tomorrow's game against Brentford. I'm going to go 1-1. Lee, what you thinking tomorrow?
I think Arsenal probably just nick it.
Yeah, I think it'll be close. James.
Yeah.
Brentford are a dark horse. Ivan Toney's got a massive point to prove. Massive point. It could go either way for me. It depends on how defensively sound Arsenal are, because Brentford want to attack. They're not a team that's going to sit back, and especially in their new stadium as well. They're going to want to go in there and kick off their Premier League campaign with a win. So I'm going to sit on the fence. You know what they say? Sit on the fence, you get splinters, but I'm here for it. It can go either way.
Yeah. No, I it's difficult because there's not a lot of form to go on, is there? It's a newly promoted team.
I honestly think if I'll be really honest with you, if Brentford do come at us like you're saying, I think that suits us because we haven't got no one that can break teams down. So if they come at us, I think that we'd be better. If they sit back and say, right, come and break us down and hit us on the break, I think they'll beat us. So I think that maybe that will suit our game. And that's the reason I think that we might nick it. That's all really. But as I say, if I wouldn't put my house on it. I'll tell you that now.
No, definitely. It's going to be a good one to watch. I'm definitely going to be tuning in and watching it. I will think of you, Lee, when about your reaction. I'm sure you'll be on the watch along. Are you on one tomorrow?
Yeah, we're on the watch along tomorrow.
I don't miss that, guys.
I'll be tuning in.
Absolutely. No, it's good. So obviously the only other place to go really next is Norwich versus Liverpool. So we've touched on Liverpool a tiny bit, but not so much to the game. Very similar to Arsenal's game, away to a newly promoted side. So I'll start with you on this one, James. We're going to get a little bit more into Liverpool-Norwich tomorrow with our other two co-hosts. on the Norwich preview, so we don't have to go too deep into it. But just a general thought on tomorrow's game, and I'll get Lee's thoughts on that one as well after you.
What? How Liverpool are going to do at the Suarez Stadium?
Yeah,
Come on,
without Suarez.
Come on, mate. Listen, every time we go to Norwich, and again, it's always a thriller. It's always interesting. You think about the Jurgen Klopp game with Adam Lallana scoring the last minute goal and then the celebration. Yeah, Klopp losing his glasses. You think about Suarez absolutely destroying Ruddy over the course of 2 games, back-to-back seasons. Yeah. It's always a good watch with Liverpool and Norwich. Norwich are a team, again, which are going to come and play football. They're not scared to come out and attack. Daniel Faulkner's got them playing some decent football. They've done well in the Championship, back-to-back promotions. Obviously, a relegation sandwiched in between that as well. So I feel that Norwich are not going to be pragmatic at home. They're going to want to come out and actually lay down a marker. And if they do get put to the sword, they'll fall on it and die, honourably. But I can't ignore the firepower that we have. A fit Mo Salah, a well-rested Sadio Mane, a Jota who's coming off the back of a decent first season at Liverpool Football Club, goes into the Euros and is mesmerising in the Euros as well, comes back into pre-season, and he just looks hungry. He looks hungry. Like he wants that starting role. He wants the starting role. He's laying down a marker for Roberto Firmino. He's laid down the gauntlet and said to him, listen, I'm here for this role. So I'm not here to play backup or second fiddle. I'm here to take that. And it's whether Firmino now accepts the challenge and says, all right, let's do this. Let's go for it. But I can see Jota starting tomorrow and bagging a brace. So I think it's going to be a Liverpool win. I can't see Norwich scoring. And I'm going to go with 3-0 Liverpool. Prediction, 3-0 Liverpool. Yeah, 3-0 Liverpool.
Do you see something similarly? Do you think now Liverpool have got, the likes of Van Dijk back, Gomez back? They might not feature tomorrow, but the confidence throughout the team now, Liverpool almost there, firing on all cylinders. And I look at Norwich and I think they've lost Buendia, so they're almost weaker than they were last season. Yeah. Campbell's linked with a move. Pukki's now 2 years older than the last time he was in the Premier League. Do you think they're going to be the whipping boys again?
I don't think they'll be whipping boys, but I think they'll be down there. And I think, and that's the difference between, say, like an Arsenal and Liverpool at this moment in time. I've got no doubt that Liverpool will beat Norwich on Saturday. I've got no doubt about that whatsoever. Whether that's because I'm a neutral or whatever, that, you know what I mean? I'm actually going out to London, so I won't be able to watch the game. So, but what I do is I check my phone when it's finished, and I expect Liverpool to win. You know what I mean? And I would have expected Liverpool to have won at the end of the day. Whether it be easy or not, I think that they'll give you a game for a little while. But ultimately, you've got players, particularly in the front areas, that will punish them. And I think probably too strong in those areas. I think that Liverpool, if they're going to really go on and win or challenge for the title, probably need to maybe strengthen up in midfield a little bit more. But other than that, they've still got the front three, which is very exciting. Or front four now, if you want to, with Jota coming in there as well. I mean, I think it's a difficult decision if you was playing a real big game who you'd actually go with there. So you've got four into three. So, but it's a nice dilemma to have, isn't it? I think. So, but I just think that maybe to challenge the other two, you're going to have to do maybe something in the midfield area, changing. A big blow for you, I think, and who I think would have been a fantastic player if it weren't for injuries is Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think that if it weren't for injuries, he would have been probably a key player for you. But it's just, he was. He was. He was a very, very good. I thought he was a terrific player. Yeah. But ultimately, injuries have held him back, even at Arsenal, and unfortunately, he's had some hell of some injuries at Liverpool. But someone like that in his is something that can just change things for you, So, but I think that against those sort of games, I look at it for Liverpool. I don't see you having any problems with those sort of teams.
No, I agree. It's a good point you make. I mean, Gini Wijnaldum has obviously moved on to PSG, as have most of the world stars in football this summer. But I think Chamberlain's he's got a big season coming up. I think there's a spot in there. You say 4 into 3 in the front three. I think realistically, all things firing, Henderson, Thiago and Fabinho is our midfield three. And there's definitely options and chances for the likes of Keita and the likes of Chamberlain to get some serious game time this season. We've lost Wijnaldum, who played 51 matches last season. So, there's a lot of chances. Henderson and Thiago cannot play 90 minutes every week. So I agree with you, Lee. I think Ox has still got something to offer. And if he can get the best of his injuries and have a really strong season, I think he can continue to be a key player at Anfield. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. And like you say, if he gets minutes tomorrow, because Henderson and Thiago have only just featured in the very last pre-season game on Monday, I don't think both of them will start on Saturday. So could we see an Ox in the starting lineup, and could he be a match winner on day one and potentially keep his place going forward? It's going to be interesting to see. But we'll get onto a few of the other games. So another one I wanted to look at, Manchester United against Leeds. Man United making Sancho and Varane their new signings of the season. Finished second last year. I'll start with you, Lee, on this one. Can they improve on second with those two signings, or is everybody else improving around them and they're going to go backwards?
Difficult one. It's hard, isn't it? Listen, I think I'll be honest, and I think that if Man United had a top manager, I'd feel a little bit more dangerous towards them. But I think that Solskjaer, to me, is just not quite up there with the likes of the others, and I think it holds them back a little bit, because if you ever look at some of their players that they've got some fantastic players. I think Man United, if I'll be honest, they're lacking a centre forward, if you like, as well. I think a real proper centre forward that's going to score goals. But they've got goals in lots of other areas. And they've, listen, you have to give teams like Man United a little bit of credit. When they come second, they're not sitting on their laurels and saying, "Oh, that's it, we've got enough here." They've gone again, and they've gone in big, if I'll be honest. So they're going to be up there. I really do think that they're going to be up there, but I do think again that they've probably just come a little bit short because of firepower. And I know that sounds silly when you look at some of the players that they've got, but I just think that they need that sort of centre forward sort of. And I don't know about you guys, but I think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should be kicking himself about the Lukaku thing, letting him go. I think that was bad from Man United for whatever reason. I think that if they would have had him now, I think that they'd be really bashing on the drum to win the title. But I just don't think that they've. Do you know what I'm saying? That Man United be right close and do something silly and cost them. Do you know what I mean? That's my opinion.
Like they did in the Europa League final.
Well, it's not just the Europa League final, is it? I think you look back at the FA Cup a couple of seasons ago. If you remember it, when Arsenal Man City were nailed on to win that FA Cup. Arsenal beat Man City, so there was a door open there, and a chance for him to get his first trophy under his belt. Going against Chelsea, Frank Lampard, who was a little bit of a novice, if you like, he played a second string team and got done. And and I couldn't fathom it out. Got absolutely outclassed by Chelsea that day, who ran all over them because they had their first team out. And as you say, the Europa League, that was listen, Villarreal were. I think everybody underestimated them, Arsenal included, but messed up again. So he's not got them over the winning line at this stage yet. And I think that, I don't know about how you guys think, but if he doesn't do the business this season, I think that he could be under serious pressure, even though he signed a new contract. So
I don't.
I'm highly delighted that he did.
I was going to ask, I'll come to you, James, on this one, because Lee made a really good point there. Usually what we see is Man United miss out on top four and they go big in the window. We've seen that historically over the last, since Fergie left. And to see them spend that money on the back of coming second, I do agree again with Lee that Ole Solskjaer does feel a little bit like Arteta, a little bit, he's more of a player that's played for them rather than a top manager. And maybe he's holding them back a little bit, but he does seem to be able to get a little bit more money to spend. And I think the pull of Man United, where they are, has helped him, attract bigger players, and saying Arteta at Arsenal maybe could have done. But What are your thoughts? Do you think Man United again will kick on and get closer? Not necessarily in terms of league position, but points gap to first place, or again, do you think top 4 they'd bite your hand off for?
Look, I can't ignore that Liverpool had our worst season, arguably, in 3 or 4 seasons, and United had their best in 3 or 4 seasons, and finished 5 points ahead of us, 3 points ahead of us,
5.
5 points ahead of us, and they had their best season. Their left back had their best season in a United shirt, and our left back had his worst season in a Liverpool shirt. It tells me that United are no further along. All that happened is that teams with real pedigree fell victim to some real horrendous injury crises, like we had at Liverpool, like we saw at Leicester. Yeah. Leicester capitulated all because they had an injury crisis, an unprecedented injury. And with respect, they probably had it worse than Liverpool in terms of their injury crisis.
Yeah.
Every time they got a player back fit, someone went down. So they had some real challenges. You think Chelsea weren't strong. They had the change of manager partway through the season, bringing in Thomas Tuchel. It was almost like a job to shore things up, to get them to the end of the season in some sort of shape in a Champions League position. So I don't think Manchester United are any further along. And guys, you can clip this. I see Manchester United struggling to make top 4. I do, honestly. I think that City are going to be strong. Chelsea are going to be strong. Liverpool are going to be strong as well. And ultimately, that leaves United kind of fighting for scraps. They've responded because I think they know that last season was an element of luck. So going out and spending the money they've spent in the window is a response to try and cement that, not necessarily kick on, but try and cement that place. I mean, Jadon Sancho has been spoken about for so long as a potential signing for Manchester United. This deal's almost 2 years in the making. And when a player of Rafa Varane's quality becomes available in the market for the price that he's become available in the market for, you can't ignore that. You have to go out and try and make that signing. Interestingly enough, from what we're led to believe, there was no real challenges for his signature. United had a clear run at his signature with PSG opting for Sergio Ramos on a free as opposed to 45, whatever it is, £1 million for Rafa Varane. I just can't see United under the guise of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer becoming that elite level top team that they need to be. You've also got the potential looming contract saga with Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. They need him to sign on a dotted line. If he signs on a dotted line, everything's okay in Manchester. The moment he gets to October, November, still no contract. December, still no contract. It starts to derail their whole season. Yeah. Because if he makes it to January and he ain't signed on a dotted line, there's nothing stopping him doing a little bit of a signature with PSG. He can sign a pre-contract agreement with an overseas club. There's nothing stopping him doing that. So there's a lot of factors in the mix, a lot of things at play when it comes to Manchester United. A few influences there which they need to solve. And is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a big enough manager to spin all those plates? Does he have the respect of someone like a Paul Pogba? Because Pogba is a big player, not only on the pitch, the commercial side of things as well. He has a big influence. I can imagine he has a big influence in the change room as well. You know, players will look at Pogba and go, well, if he's doing it, then maybe I can get away with it. if he's up to no good and Ollie's asked him to do this, maybe I can get away with it. So they need to nail him down for everything to be all okay in Manchester. Otherwise, big problems. Big problems.
No, I agree. So just linking Man United over across to the next one. So just before we finish with them, Man United Leeds tomorrow. No, sorry, I think Saturday, isn't it? What's your score on that one, James? And I'll ask you, Lee, as well in a minute.
Oh, mate, it's Bielsa's just signed the new 1-year deal. So we're Bielsa for another 2 years, mate. Good. Man-to-man pressing against Manchester United. And those boys, they just run and run and run,
We played them first game of the season last year, didn't we, with Leeds? And they gave us a bit of a fright, 4-3 victory for us, just about, with Mo Salah getting a hat-trick, I think it was. But do you think Man United are going to have enough? It's very similar. They're at home as well. few players still not back. Lee mentioned the striker Cavani hasn't played any pre-season. Sancho hasn't played any pre-season. Varane's not signed officially yet.
Exactly. Do you know what? They're our rivals. I hate Manchester United. Fuck it. Leeds win. Leeds win.
Leeds win.
Up Leeds. Leeds win, mate.
What do you reckon, Lee?
No, I think home advantage is a big thing.
With the fans.
I just have a little, Manchester just have a little bit too much for them on the day. But again,
Lee, come on, man.
I could see Leeds giving them a real game on this. You know what I mean? Leeds are a difficult animal to predict, really, if I'll be honest. So you can, if you get them on a hot day, then they can blow you away. So, but I just think Manchester United. I think that on the back of a couple of players had good Euros at the back there. I think that they're still a strong outfit at home, and I think home advantage. If it was at Leeds, I think maybe I'd be agreeing, but I think I'm going to stick my neck out because it's at Old Trafford. I think that
it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because they had an amazing away record last season, didn't they? United, and like you say, now the return of fans. Are we going to see more a return to norm where you back if in doubt you back the home team? Because the last season it was a massive
change, didn't it? It did change, So I think that it will spin back this time. It was like the advantage will go back to the home team because of the home fans. I think that it's proved that fans are a key. By that stat. So even though we've predicted that Arsenal and Liverpool win away from home, but there you go, So
I agree.
I'm sticking my neck out for Man United.
Fair enough. No, that's fine.
I think good season.
I agree. There's good questions in the comments from Ali A. We're going to get to them at the end. But I wanted to move it on nicely, Lee. Just coming to you again. You say Man United are a striker short of a title challenge, and that striker you mentioned, Lukaku, has found his way back to where it went before, where it all started back at Chelsea. And they host Crystal Palace, who have a very special manager in charge in Arsenal fans' hearts, Patrick Vieira. So what do you make of that? Do you think that how is that match going to go? How's Vieira going to get on? And is Lukaku really going to make Chelsea favourites?
My second team now at Crystal Palace. What a player he was for Arsenal. What an absolute legend. You know what I mean? I would prefer him to be at Arsenal than Arteta, if I'll be honest, because you would just back him that little bit more because of what he done as a player. But ultimately, fantastic. I think he's got his hands full at Crystal Palace this season.
Big job, isn't it?
Big job. You know what I mean? And if he does well there, that will. It can go two ways for Patrick this time. It'll raise his stock very, very high, or it'll be, he's one of those great players that could manage. You know what I mean? That's how precarious it's going to be for him for this one. But he's going to start off his Crystal Palace career with a defeat. There's no doubt about that. You know what I mean? It's not the greatest of starts to go to Chelsea and try and get a result. And as I say, Chelsea at this moment in time, I know that you're not going to agree with me, are my favourites for this time at this moment in time. But and I think that there might be a little bit of I don't know, hangover from yesterday's European thing, but mind it was only in Ireland, wasn't it?
True, only in Belfast.
So it was only Belfast, but went into extra time and all that. Lukaku, I don't think will start in that game. Might be on the bench. I don't know if he signed in time. I think he did sign in time, didn't he? So he can actually be playing it. But I'd be very, very surprised if they chucked him in straight away. But I think that they'll have a little bit too much for Crystal Palace. Yeah.
And James, again, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for you. I know you're not going to be agreeing with Lee in terms of Chelsea being favourites. I mean, they have signed Lukaku. They have got Thomas Tuchel from the start. This time, he's not going to be clearing up a January Frank Lampard mess like he did last season and end up steering them to the big one. So all those things considered, Chelsea surely are going to be closer to the title at least, aren't they?
I'm not fussed. Like I'm not on it. Like respect to Chelsea. My brother's a Chelsea fan for his sins, Jesus. But I'm just not wowed. Like I like Thomas Tuchel. I think he's a great manager. But he's not Jurgen Klopp. you know, he had all the riches at his disposal at Paris Saint-Germain and failed to take him to the Holy Grail, which was the Champions League. He got so close.
Yeah,
he got to the final and got so
then
close.
He got there next year and won it with someone else.
Exactly. So it's one of those things. It's one of those things where, from my perspective, he's a fantastic manager. I expect him to do some good things, but I just think he's in the league with the big dogs now. He's not. He's in the league with the big dogs. This is where you really make your name in world football as a manager. Yeah. You're going up against Pep Guardiola, arguably one of the greatest managers of our generation because of what he's won. You know, you then look at Jurgen Klopp, again, arguably one of the greatest managers of this generation because of how he manages a team. And he's always been that underdog, but he's always been able to get a tune out of a team. Yeah. Thomas Tuchel comes in as probably the third in that, in terms of elite level managers currently operating in the Premier League. Yeah, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not an elite level manager. You know, Arteta isn't elite level manager at the moment. They've got the potential to be that, but they're not quite there. Thomas Tuchel has managed at the top scale of the game. Chelsea's transfer business has been good. Lukaku is a good striker. He's proven that in Serie A, but it's almost like he's come back to the Premier League to prove a point. We look historically at top class strikers that have been at Chelsea. Yeah. Crespo failed. Shevchenko failed. Torres failed. Lukaku failed. They just, for whatever reason, they cannot seem to incorporate a top class, world class number 9 into their team and be successful. The only one in that period of time that has really set the world alight and been phenomenal for Chelsea is Didier Drogba, and he was an insane striker, probably one of the best strikers in the Premier League era. He's the only one in that probably 20 years.
I'd throw Diego Costa in there. I'd throw him in there.
Yeah,
Costa did well. Costa did well. So so we'll give him Diego Costa. Costa did well, but in the Premier League era, and how long's Abramovich been there now? Nearly 20 years he's been at Chelsea.
Yeah, there's more fails than wins, isn't there, in the striker
department?
There's
more fails than wins. And can I see Lukaku going there and setting the world alight? The odds are stacked against him. The odds are stacked against him in that respect. So
it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. It could go either way. Chelsea could blow the league away. Chelsea could blow the league away, or they could flunk it. It could go either way.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do that, but I think he'll do well there. I really do. Unfortunately,
I think he's changed. I think his game has changed. I look at him at United, like you mentioned, Lean. He was almost a little bit overweight, a little bit chunky, a little bit slow. He's gone to Inter. He looks more of an athlete. He did well for Belgium at the Euros, and I think he's got everything. I think he's got everything about his game to succeed this time round. He knows what the Premier League's about already. He's changed his game slightly. He's almost got used to playing in a front two with Lautaro Martinez at Inter. Will that have an effect with him only playing as a front man, probably in a 4-3-3 with a Werner and a Havertz or a Pulisic or a Ziyech either side of him? It's going to be an interesting one for sure. And I was watching the overlap earlier on with Gary Neville and Cara and Roy Keane, and Cara made a good point that he's looking and really thinking we could actually see maybe a 3 or a 4 horse title race, which is something we don't really ever see. It's very rarely more than 2 teams going for the title. So it's going to be an interesting one. And I'll come on to not everybody's favourites for the title because Lee's back in Chelsea, but Spurs Man City this weekend, Lee, that probably the pick of the ties from the opening round. And your favourite player, Harry Kane, is featuring in it as well. Do you think he's playing his last game for Spurs, or do you think?
I'll be very surprised if he's playing this game. Very, very surprised.
Okay.
Very surprised.
So you don't see him playing in this game?
I don't see him playing for Spurs again. No, I think he's made it perfectly clear that he don't want to play for the club no more. I was actually speaking to one of my Spurs mates today, and he said, take whatever money we can from him now. He's made it clear he don't want to play for the club. Move him on. I get what they're saying there, but very, very surprised if he's playing against Man City, knowing that that's the club that he wants to go to as well. Be very surprised. I'd be interested. This is what I'm saying about Man City. But I'm not convinced that they'll beat Spurs at the weekend. I'm not convinced. I think that maybe it could be a draw. You know what I mean? Like, because I just think that Man City miss a lot of chances. I do. I think they create a lot and don't really. I watched them at in the Community Shield. The same thing. Most of the possession, but didn't take their chances and then got done. So, and I've seen it happen to City on a couple of occasions, and unfortunately, at bloody White Hart Lane on a couple of occasions. So, it's not one of their great better grounds.
No, they've lost a few times there, haven't they, recently?
Yeah. So, I've got a little feeling that maybe Tottenham might get something out of this, which I don't want to see. But ultimately, I can see something like that happening. Listen, if City play well and take their chances, they win the game. But I just feel they're not quite right, and they need that forward. And I think until they do,
they are missing it.
They're missing him. Yeah, they will miss it like that.
No, I agree. I mean, I look at Spurs. It's funny you mentioned Kane could have played his last game. They've already started really to spend the money that they would probably get in. Seeing them spend 40 million on a centre back, bringing in a goalie, bringing in another winger as well. You think would they be spending that kind of funds? Without selling Kane, and we've not really seen that kind of spending from Spurs in recent years. So I think there is probably something in the pipeline there.
You've got to be saying the pipeline. Listen, you don't Harry Kane, whether you like him or you don't, you have to hold your hands up and say he's a good striker, very, very good striker, goal scorer, all-round striker, probably one of the best number 9s in the business.
Yeah.
Lukaku's gone for 90 million, 97 million. I think he's a bit better than Lukaku, if I'll be honest. So you're saying that 100, 110, if that's the case, that will get him out of there. And ultimately, I would say that ultimate professional as well. So for him to do what he's done, and don't kid yourself. Every player come back a week ago. Why has he come back a week later than everybody else?
Yeah,
it's not rocket science, is it? He's upset by something, and for him to be upset like that and not do basically the professional thing and right thing, he feels something's gone amiss there, because at the end of the day, guys, if he hadn't signed that contract, he actually could be leaving Tottenham now for nothing.
Yeah.
So he'd probably look at it and going, hold on a minute, I signed that contract, done you a favour of, so you'd get money. And he feels very, very strongly about it. For a player of Harry Kane, to do that, something's gone wrong, seriously wrong. And I think. Too many bridges are burnt there for him to repair, and that's my opinion. I might be wrong, but that's what I think.
No, that's fine. I mean, James, would you agree with Lee that they are a striker short of a title? I mean, I think anybody that finishes above City win the league. Or is Jack Grealish going to be that player that pushes them on again to be just as successful as last season?
I think Jack Grealish is a cog in a massive wheel. Manchester City are a system team, as are most teams now in world football. They rely on systems. They're not a team which is famed for moments of individual brilliance. You don't really see it in their games. It's very methodical with the way that they play. So he's been brought in to fit that system, and credit to him. Jack Grealish is a wonderful player. Lots of talent. They're buying a player in their prime, or coming into his prime, which is fantastic. And they're probably going to get more out of him. I was watching, again, with the overlap that you were talking about, and they were talking about Roy Keane was saying how he's probably gone there thinking Pep can kick my game on that bit more. That's the kind of football I want to play. That nice tiki-taka, intricate passing, pass move, that relentless press, that's what I want to do. He can get my game to the next level. So the son of Jack Grealish is absolutely fantastic. If Harry Kane goes in there, then they're almost complete. But I still think, like Lee said earlier on in the pod, they can be got at. If you go toe-to-toe with Manchester City, they don't like it. Liverpool have shown that on many, many occasions. If you go toe-to-toe with them, you can get change out of them. You can. You look at the game in the Champions League. we absolutely annihilated them. We came flying out of the blocks, roughed them up. They didn't like it. The same in the game in the Premier League. We came flying out of the blocks. We roughed them up. Didn't like it. You've seen teams do it to Manchester City. They can be got at. And I don't think the signing of a Jack Grealish or a Harry Kane is going to change that. All I think it does is, like Lee was saying earlier on, it makes them more clinical in terms of their gilt-edged chances. They create a lot of chances, but they don't have someone there consistently to put them away, i.e. what Aguero was, to be honest, in that respect. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be difficult for Manchester City, because, like you said, we're almost looking at a four-horse title race potentially, which we've not seen for a very long time. Harry Kane goes there, of course, sensational signing, but they've got to make it count. You can only pay 11 players. So
it's true.
It's true.
It's a good point. I mean, Lee made a really good comment before we went live and said, before the transfer window closes, it's basically impossible to try and predict a table. So I think that's what we're probably going to have to wait for to do. Once the window's closed, it will be easier to do that. But I'm looking forward to the season starting. It's been a pleasure to have you on, Lee. I won't take up any more of your time.
I really enjoyed it, lads. Good chat. And good luck for the season with the channel and to Liverpool as well, right? So good luck.
Absolutely. James, any last words from you, mate, before we close today?
Yeah, just quickly, it was a really good question here from Ali in regards to whether you and I would be happy with Saul or Doku to come in.
Okay, we'll do a quick really quick then.
I'd be very happy, mate. I'd be very happy, and I'll leave it there.
I think anybody would be, really, with those two.
100%. SS, what we got going on for the rest of the week? Just tell the viewers before we go what we got. What we got popping
literally, just before we go. So we've got the Norwich preview show tomorrow night with myself, yourself, Stephen, and Courtney. So all the Fab Four UK, the Fab Four UK Red Sea podcast hosts are going to be previewing that game. We've also got Red Sea Down Under. We've got our brothers over in Australia doing a LFC show over there. They do the training ground and obviously the Red Sea Down Under show as well, which is really good. So keep an eye out for that on our channel. And we're going to be on LFC Day Trippers straight after the Norwich game for Red Sea full time to react to, hopefully, Liverpool's opening win of the season. If not, there's going to be some words shared, I'm sure, and some home truths coming along. But all the best, Lee, for watch along tomorrow. I quite like seeing your angry side, but I hope you have a nice, pleasant evening tomorrow watching the Arsenal.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
It's all good, guys. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you next time. All the best. Take care.